For this, first we have created dot and making rounds around it. Again making rounds around it, and now creating humps to cover the line. Covering the whole round. Now making round shape humps. Now darkening it, filling it from inside. Now covering it with a thin line. Again making a thick line outside. Making a thin line to cover it. Here I am making a mango shape, and now I have made frill, making a drop shape coming downwards. Again made drop shape coming downwards. Here again I have made a mango shape. This I have made as a peacock shape, and now completing this by making a line cross side. In this mango shape, first we'll start with making frill and lines and humps on it and round humps on it. Now covered it with thick line and make lines with humps, and now completing this area by making frills and cover this with a thick line and thin line, and again frills inside. Now making thick line and covering each and every petals. Now covering the face and half portion from upwards. Now made 3 lines and humps on it. Now round humps and covering it with a thick line, thin lines, and making humps on it. Now I made zigzag line checks inside the portion. Now making thick line and completing this checks now. Making thick line downside as well and making leaves upwards. Frills upward and leaves. Here I had made lines and humps on it. Round humps, thick line and a thin line. Making humps to cover the lines. Here I'd create a cross line coming upwards and create humps on it. Now I am creating double line checks inside this portion. Now here we'll create a swastik shape inside it. Making thick line and creating swastik shapes properly in each squares. After making this, we have to fill the lines. We had made double lines that we are just filling it. I am making humps again on this line. Now making round shape swill with the lines on it and making humps to cover it, and round humps and thick line and thin lines with humps on it. Again making humps and making leaves to cover humps. Making line to cover the leaves and making humps. Making a straight line coming upwards and again making lines to cover this. Making humps to cover the line. Here I am making a lotus shape inside this portion. Properly making lotus with a stem and swirl inside it. I made leaf circle as well inside this blank portion. Again making lotus with stem and leaf, and here I make swirl with dots. Again coming up by making lotus, crisscross lotus I have made. First I had made from coming from left to right and then right to left. On this finger as well I'll make lotus. Now swirl and leaves. Here I'll start with swirl, make humps on it. Now I'll make leaf shape petals on it. Now making a circle inside it and covering the portion by filling it. You just have to fill the portion and cover it by making a thin line Here I had made a peacock shape coming upwards. Now making a drop shape inside of the face and making eyes of the peacock. Here I am making a squirrel. Here also I am making a mango shape coming upwards and making a swirl inside on it and making leaves coming upwards. I'll start with making swirl and humps and round humps and creating lines on it and making humps, making swirls to cover the humps, filling the portion by making swirl, and now making thick line and thin line with humps. Now making a thick line to cover this mango shape. Now filling the peacock shape from the front side and making thin lines with humps, covering it with a thin line and making humps on it, round humps on it and making a thick line and thin lines and covering it with making humps, making a swirl and making humps on it, swirls and humps, covering the thumb by making it, making a thick line and thin lines on it, and now making humps on it, again swirls on it to cover the upper portion as well. Now I am making leaves. Now here I'll be filling the blank portion and making it as a negative design. Filling all the blank portion. Here I had made round shape humps and lines on it, covering it with making humps. I'd made a cross line coming upwards and filling the blank portion by making swirls. Covering whole portion by making swirl, and I'm now darkening this line and making thin line and covering it by making humps. Second layer of humps on it. Now here I am making swirl with lines and humps on it. I've made round shape humps and thick line and thin line by making humps, leaves, and now I have created thin line. Here I have created swirl, humps, and here I have created leaves, humps, swirls. Same thing continuing upwards. Swirl, humps, leaves, swirls, humps, and leaves. Now making a thick line on the peacock shape, making swirls, leaves, humps, doing the same thing we have done before. The same thing we have to do again. Doing the same thing again. Here I'll create double line checks on it. For this finger we have to cover the whole finger by making double line checks. Making lines inside each and every square. Again making a small checks inside each and every square and making dots on each points. Now for the first checks we had made, we have to thicken these lines. Here we are completed our front hand Lotus Mehndi design. Thank you.